Welcome back, everybody, to the Speculation Podcast. This is Landon Tice, and once again, I'm joined with your favorite co-hosts, coming to us from our Orlando studios on the ones and twos, Kaylee Oglesby.
Hello.
And from Nashville, Tennessee, author, speaker, podcaster, and cowgirl extraordinaire, Kara Hollinsworth.
Good morning, friends.
So, for today's show, we have a very fun topic to cover, time traveling. What inspired our theme for today was a book that we know many of you recently read, called Kindred by Octavia Butler. Kindred covers the journey of a courageous and compassionate 26-year-old African-American female writer, Dana. In this novel, Butler provides a unique perspective on what it would have been like to be a slave in the antebellum South. Dana, along with her husband Kevin, endure a series of time-jumping events between their home in 1976 and Dana's ancestors' plantation in the 1800s. Upon discussing the book, we found the aspect of time travel to be extremely interesting, so we thought that we would bring the conversation to you guys as well. Throughout the show today, we're going to analyze the use of time travel in this novel, as well as hear from expert time travel researchers, Dr. Lucius Banks and Bernice Price.
I am so excited. I'll go ahead and kick things off. I don't know about you guys, but as I was reading, I couldn't help but think that we all might have different perspectives as to whose lives were most affected by time travel.
Yeah, I also thought a lot about that as I was reading. I think that the time traveling affected Dana and Kevin's everyday lives the most. After she started disappearing, Dana was afraid to leave her own house. At one point in the novel, Dana states, "I was so afraid to leave the house, walking or driving. Driving, I could easily kill myself, and the car could kill other people if Rufus called me from it at the wrong time. This constant worry would take a massive toll on me, no doubt."
I see what you mean, but I think the argument can be made that Rufus and the other characters on the plantation were more affected by time travel than even Dana and Kevin.
Okay, but what about when Dana started to get used to time traveling? Every time she would go back home, she'd pack her bag to leave again, almost like her current life was just waiting to go back to save Rufus. Her life wasn't necessarily her own anymore, and I don't think the same can be said about those on the plantation.
Okay, sure. Maybe Dana's life was riddled with uncertainty, but if we're talking about life change, I think Dana's impact on Rufus and the others through time travel was significant. Just to play devil's advocate here, you could say that this impact was even more severe than that of the weight placed on Kevin and Dana. For example, when Rufus was mad about Alice and Isaac being together, Dana urged them to run away. As a result, Isaac got his ear cut off, and Alice was severely hurt. I think it's safe to say that this wouldn't have happened if Dana hadn't been there.
You're absolutely right. There was definitely hurt caused because of Dana's time traveling. But if we're talking about severed body parts, let's not forget about how Dana's arm was torn off of her body as a result of time travel. Dana says when she realizes her loss, "From the elbow to the ends of my fingers, my left arm had become a part of the wall. I looked at the spot where flesh joined with plaster, stared at it uncomprehending. It was the exact spot Rufus's fingers had grasped." If you read the book, you realize that Dana was escaping from being raped by Rufus. And as a result, while Rufus was holding onto her, Dana lost her arm. If that isn't life-altering, I don't know what is. How would you explain to friends and family how you lost your arm? Never having left the confines of your own home. We read that people assumed Dana's injuries were a result of domestic violence. Dana's cousin told her, "I never thought you were a fool enough to let a man beat you." The police even questioned Dana about her arm, assuming that Kevin hurt her. Dana responded saying, "It was an accident, my fault, not Kevin's," but how believable is that? So because of Dana's time travel experiences, she never could give a reasonable explanation as to how she got injured.
That's a good point. To go with Kaylee's argument, Dana wasn't the only one whose life was affected due to time travel. At one point in the novel, we read that Kevin was left behind in the antebellum South for 5 years. How does someone adjust to their daily lives after something like that?
Losing your arm is a big deal, yes, and so is being abandoned for 5 years. But Dana ended Rufus's life. Because of her ability to time travel, she ended up killing her own ancestor. As she is killing Rufus, Dana says, "I was aware of him trying not to hurt me, even as I raised the knife, even as I sank it into his side." Which has a greater impact, almost dying or being killed?
I think you both make some really strong points, but I do think it would be helpful to hear some expert opinions.
I agree.
Me too.
Alright, sweet. Well, in anticipation for debate, we interviewed two renowned scientists in the field of time travel. Here were our interviews with Dr. Lucius Banks and Bernice Price.
Dr. Lucius Banks is Doctor of Physics with a major of quantum mechanics. He co-owns a program based on the teaching of theoretical thought. Today, he has agreed to discuss time travel and its effects on past, current, and future events. Doctor, can you begin by giving us a brief introduction on exactly that? Time travel's effect on past, current, and future events?
Well, first off, I need to introduce the basis for my rationalization, that being the theory of the temporal paradox. This theorem states that because a change of an event in time affects only the future, but were caused by people or events that had not yet come to exist, the past must change to compensate for this infraction of sequence.
So let me get this straight. A change in the past from someone in the future that technically has not been born will cause a shift in the past to compensate for this? In relation to kindred, how would this affect the past and those who live within, such as Rufus?
Simply put, yes, but it isn't just a change. It is a complete shift in timelines. You are moved from the first timeline and into a timeline where these changes did happen in the past, thus correcting the sequence of events that led to the change in the first place. In theory, the changes Dana makes in the past don't affect the future until she leaves the past she currently resides. The past she goes to is in a sort of stasis, and when she leaves, the future she goes to is located in a timeline where the changes she makes has already happened to account for the paradox. Technically, the Rufus she then goes back to see would not be the Rufus she originally met, and sometimes changes to the past are so drastic that the paradox could cause whole people to cease to exist in order to compensate.
Outstanding. Thank you for your insight, Dr. Banks.
No funny business. No funny.
Trust me. Trust me when I say that I was innocent. Trust me. He only stayed 'cause we were just listening. Yeah, we were just listening. And I know what you think. I know you're scared I'll find someone else. And I know what you think. That I'll be unfaithful and it'll be unfair and you will
Dr. Bernice Price is a doctor of mathematics. She's participated in multiple thorough studies in regards to the science of temporal manipulation. Today, she has agreed to discuss time travel and the many profound and branching effects it could have for the future. Doctor, take it away.
In your introduction, you mentioned the idea of branching events. This is how I like to explain what is called the butterfly effect. Originally, the theory was proposed by Edward N. Lorenz, whom was an American mathematician and founder of modern conceptualization of the chaos theory.
Could you compound upon the butterfly effect and how this theory could be applied to the events in Kindred?
Yes, the basic premise is that more than one detail in the future is dependent upon a single initial condition. Look at it like this. Say you flip a light switch, which then not only turns on the bulb, but the fan and the faucet in the kitchen as well. Suddenly, there is more than one variable is dependent upon a single action. The effects of that single action become great. When a larger time span is considered, a person surviving an event that they were not intended to can establish a family that then gives lives to 10 families, all of whom would not have existed originally. This almost perfectly translates into Dana's life. Throughout the book, she fears to make a decision that were different than what originally happened. A fear well based in science, because any decision she makes would have a vastly unmeasurable impact upon the future, a future in which she will return to. In truth, if she failed to keep her ancestors alive, not only could she cease to exist in the future, but those who were affected by her descent of Rufus could end up leading completely different lives. This is just one of the many possibilities.
So just changing one detail can have such a massive effect on the future? The very sound of that makes my inner control freak scream. Thank you for your time and information, Dr. Bernice Price.
Well, it seems that the experts each put up really strong arguments. I don't know who to side with. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about time traveling and how much it affected the lives of Dana, Kevin, and Rufus from the book Kindred. We'll leave it up to you guys to decide. Were Dana and Kevin most affected by time travel, or was it Rufus and those on the plantation that felt the most impact? Let us know what you think by hitting us up on Twitter @SpeculationPodcast, or give us your longer takes on the podcast webpage, speculationpod.com. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, this is The Speculation.